All right. The Republican Party, again, is formed in 1854 in response to the Kansas Nebraska Act as an anti slavery party, and it unites the various interests in the North around an anti slavery platform. So, when I say various interests, what I mean are those who are abolitionists calling for immediate end to slavery, and those who are calling for something more gradual. But the main premise of the party is that it wants to get rid of slavery. It sees slavery as antithetical to the Constitution, the ideals of America. And the vision for the Republican Party, or what becomes the vision for the Republican Party, is laid out by Abraham Lincoln in 1854 when he's running for a position in the U.S. Senate. And he is debating with Stephen Douglas, who is the Democrat candidate. They're both running in Illinois. Okay, and of course Douglas is the guy that championed the Kansas-Nebraska Act. So what Abraham Lincoln, right, who was a frontiersman in origin from Kentucky in the log cabin, and then a lawyer, and now is running for Senate in Illinois, and he is arguing in the very famous Stephen Douglas Abraham Lincoln debates of 1854 that the founding fathers, even though some of them were slave owners, believed that slavery was evil and antithetical to the ideals of the government they were founding. And their vision was that over time, slavery would be eliminated, that it would be temporarily tolerated, but the vision was that it would be ended eventually. Okay? And again, he's really re-emphasizing, say, the language of the Declaration of Independence, in which all men are created equal. He's emphasizing also the fact that the Constitution itself does not mention the word slavery or the word slave. There is no explicit endorsement of that legal category. And also, whenever slaves are alluded to in the Constitution, they are referred to as persons, and thus accorded the same essential dignity as persons as anyone else. However, that is not, they're given no legal rights. So their dignity is not respected, in other words. So their identity as human beings, as sons and daughters of God, is recognized, made in the image of God, but it's not, there's no legal protection for it. That's that's what Lincoln is saying. So, well, that's what I'm saying. But Lincoln is saying that the founding documents are supportive of an anti-slavery position, and this is now going to be the position of the Republican Party, and that he's also not an abolitionist. He's not calling for, say, like, let's end slavery today. He's saying it's evil. We need to get rid of it. I don't know how to do that. He's saying, look, I don't judge Southerners as evil because I don't know what I would do in their situation. And he says, I don't know what the solution is for freed black people, is what Lincoln says, right? He says, maybe they should be sent back to Africa, to a colony there called Liberia, over to the country of Liberia, which had been set up a couple of generations before. Okay, but he's not sure about that, right? He's not sure about allowing them to exist in the United States as sort of an underclass of people who are not slaves, but who are not protected by the law. And that's actually what, of course, happened after the Civil War. There was no consistent protection of the rights of black people after the Civil War. And he says, look, the other option is, of course, full equality as citizens. And he says there's so much opposition to that, he doesn't know how that could go forward. So he's like, we don't know how to, he doesn't know. So he's saying, look, he's taking an anti-slavery position, but I wouldn't call it yet an abolitionist position. Okay, so he's got a little ways to go there on that. But generally speaking, really good rhetoric, right, and really good ideals. Okay, and he's also critiquing the Kansas-Nebraska Act, particularly because it is, he says, particularly pernicious because it's trying to expand slavery into free territory that was always meant to be free. So he says the founding fathers wanted to contain, restrain, and then gradually abolish slavery. So trying to expand it is particularly bad, he says. And Douglas says, look, no, it has to be done because we're defending the white man's right to self-governance. That's what's really more important here. We have to allow them to decide for themselves out in the West what they want. And Lincoln says, no, that's not self-government. When the white man governs himself, that's okay, that's good, self-government. But when he governs another human being, that's not self-government. That's despotism. That's a different thing, right? And so he's very good at sort of pointing out the hypocrisy in the argument that Douglas is making. Okay, and he's really laying out this vision for the country, which is ultimately seeing the founding of the United States in continuity with the ending of slavery. Okay, and this is all going to sort of be reiterated in his presidency in the language of the Gettysburg Address, but it's first established here in these debates in 1854. I'm just going to read you part of it. I'm just going to read it, okay? I want to. All right? Look, so he says, Lincoln says that the spirit of 76 and the spirit of Nebraska are utter antagonisms. Little by little, we have been giving up the old for the new faith. Near 80 years ago, we began by declaring that all men are created equal, but now from that beginning we have run down to the other declaration that for some men to enslave others is a sacred right of self-government. These principles cannot stand together. Our Republican robe is soiled, and trailed in the dust. Let us repurify it. Let us readopt the Declaration of Independence, and with it the practices and policy which harmonize with it. If we do this, we shall not only have saved the Union, but we shall have so saved it as to make and keep it forever worthy of the saving. So this becomes essentially the platform of the Republican Party in the next couple of years. All right. Now the midterm election of 1854 brings huge victories for the Republicans because the Northern Democrats who voted for the Kansas-Nebraska Act, almost all of them don't get returned to office, and the ones who didn't vote for it aren't running as Democrats anymore. So essentially now you have the rise of the Republicans in the North and the rise of the Democrats in the South. And now we've got the sectional division and conflict reflected in the political parties, setting the stage for the Civil War, which we won't get to until next week, but there you go. There it is. Kansas-Nebraska Act, very important.